let's just jump. And good morning, everyone. So we know each other, but it's always good to have introductions. So if we can just go around the table.
I'm Chris Oliver, the Executive Director. Good morning.
I'm Tony Luisi, Board Chair Designee from DEC.
Andrew Curry, representative of the town of Albany.
I'm Casey Holdsworth, new Vice Chair for State Parks.
Nancy Pearson, citizen member.
Steve Rice, citizen member.
Peter Barber, Argyle.
Sean Rust, citizen member.
Do we have any board members virtually?
We do not. We have Don Stapos with us from the audit committee. Yes, right. Yeah, Peter, you're now.
So the minutes from the September meeting are in the board packet. If anyone has any questions or comments on those, please let us know. Otherwise, we'll take a motion to approve.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Moving right into comments from the public. Is anyone here in the room or virtually interested in providing any comments? All right, well then we'll just move right into reports. And I do not have a report for today, but does any other member of the board have anything to share?
I'll mention that the photo exhibit is great. I don't know whether we saw it the last time. This is the first time. I mean, that we've had a board meeting with it.
Yep.
And the staff always do a great job, and the Friends group. So thank you for all that. Great photos.
Yeah, fantastic.
If there's anything else, we'll turn it to you, Chris.
Okay, I can follow up on that. Thanks, Nancy. That was a good segue. So this is the 10th annual Pine Bush Perspectives Jury Photo Exhibit. So we had the most submissions ever this year, over 160. And we chose, there's 39 in this exhibit that you see here. And the winners are over here. You can vote on the tablet over there for People's Choice Award. It's sponsored by the Friends, as it has been in the past. So this is now, so during COVID, we had it just outside of the story walk, so along the trail going up to the overlook on the Blue Trail. So it is now both inside and outside. So if people don't want to go outside, they can enjoy it here. If they want to come inside, they can enjoy it outside, or both. So thanks for everybody on the staff to help make this a reality again. The Friends, of course, it's a great project. And self-servingly, as Wendy knows, our communications director, any of the photos that get submitted, we can use. So we use those in social media. There's a lot of great information in the update this time from the staff. Every department is 8 pages long. I think the last board meeting was around 3, and every department said, wait until December, it'll be full. And it certainly is. So make sure you take a look at that. You see just a couple of highlights. Smoky Bear Day, we did Smoky Bear Day again, October. We had 360 plus, that sound right, Beth? Attendees. Smoky was here, chaperoned by a DEC Forest Ranger, as always, and Smoky was giving his message about appropriate wildfire control and management here to preserve. Our fire season, that ties into our fire season. Despite a lot of rain, we burned 333 acres safely and effectively. Meeting objectives, that's the most important thing, right? There's some interesting data in that update that Wendy put together on Facebook impressions. Take a look at that. Over 100,000 impressions, which is pretty interesting. We do advertising through Facebook, and that gets a lot of the word out. So a lot of these programs, like Smoky Bear Day, that's how people learn about it now, on social media. Let's see, what else? Over 700 people in the last quarter for fall programs. School programs here at the Discovery Center. Take a look in that update. I always find it interesting for fall bird migration, the banding work that the science team does. Look at the number of species that are captured in the nets and banded or checked for banding. Let's see. Anything else? I think that's it. Chris. Yeah. Oh, they're good. Well, I was just about to get to that. So Steve Campbell isn't going to be with us today. Steve was going to give a presentation on current blue monitoring for 2023. He's a little under the weather. He said he could do it virtually. We don't want to see a virtual presentation, right, John?
Correct.
So, taking guidance from the board, I said, and he doesn't feel well, so he doesn't need it. So I said, let's do that in March. But the bottom line is the numbers and the graph are in that update. The numbers are lower from last year, not dramatically, but they're still well above the recovery threshold that we have internally and also set by the Fish and Wildlife Service. So instead of Mr. Campbell, we'll have Beth McCullum, our outreach volunteer coordinator, give us a presentation on our volunteer program. And I think that's it.
Thanks, Chris.
Thanks.
Neil?
Morning, everyone.
Morning.
Happy solstice. There is not a typical committee update in your packet this quarter because the committee didn't review any new projects or a few ongoing projects. A few ongoing projects that I'll update you on next quarter. The two big ones. One, of course, is the Lice Solar project proposed in the town of Colony on Curry Road. They are continuing to work with the town, and we had a very productive meeting with the Nature Conservancy on some pretty innovative conservation strategies for this. They might closer.
I can't be seen.
There you go. See you.
Oh,
We want to see you in the video.
Oh.
There you go.
Trying not.
No,
Well, you can go around.
I'm good.
Stand right near the edge.
Don't get back up.
No.
So they're working with the Nature Conservancy as part of their application packet to make sure that they're doing some really good things for the environment as part of that project, trying to strike a more appropriate balance in an area that's recommended for full protection. The other one is the landfill habitat restoration project. They continue to move forward with restoring the closed portion of the oldest part of the landfill. They had a couple of washouts this summer, so they were working on stabilizing the sand around the base of that landfill, but the monitoring and all the work they've been doing out there has been moving in a very positive direction. And lastly, also in your update, I wanted to mention to you, there is a fire science and management workshop coming to Albany. So this is as part of the National Cohesive Strategy. Well, it's a national strategy to out of Congress to try and deal with the threat of increased wildfire, largely as a result of climate change, but not exclusively. And the first meeting was held this past August in Madison, Wisconsin, and I was one of their invited keynote speakers at that workshop. As a result, they said, well, we've got to go to Albany in 24. So the Madison workshop was around 250 people. They're expecting a similar turnout this year, but it basically covers 20 states, all of the northeastern states and the midwestern states, and really trying to build cohesion, collaboration, coordination between fire scientists and fire managers to try and improve and increase regionally the ability to manage dangerous fuel loads, reduce the risk of catastrophic wildfires, and protect important biodiversity. So it's all wrapped up into one. And as a result of all of the work that we've been doing here on all of those fronts, last year's workshop did not have a field trip. This year's 3-day workshop is we're going to host a field trip on the second day. So it'll be sessions at the Hilton downtown in Albany on day 1, an orientation and field trip here on day 2 on that Wednesday, and then back at the Hilton on Thursday for more sessions and a wrap up. And it will include everything from thinking about climate change and indigenous fire stewardship to mechanics and science behind prescribed fire. And we're working, there's a steering committee made up of the North Atlantic Fire Science Exchange, which I'm a representative of for the commission. But we're also pulling in DEC. We've invited Rob Cole from Forest Health to join us in this, and we're hoping to also work to have state parks more involved, because both DEC and state parks are already building momentum and capacity within their respective agencies. So ultimately, hopefully, this workshop will help build momentum for more good fire across all of New York State and the places that need it, but also highlight the work that we all do every day.
Great. Thank you.
Good stuff. Lisa, you're up.
I don't know.
Yeah, right near the edge.
Black X on the
We need
board.
all signs to stand here.
Yeah.
Stand here, no, you're too far back.
sounds like you were crowding it.
Perfect.
Good morning, happy holidays, everybody. Okay, October financial, so this is 7 months of our fiscal year. Start with revenue, an income statement of financial activities. Through the month of October, we are at $38 million higher, and this is due to increased trust account donations for the quarter. And government and grant contract is 95% of budget, and this is directly related to expenses below, because it's a reimbursement-based grant. Mitigation fees are slightly over, and this is due to increased tonnage from the landfill. Lease revenue is on budget, and other revenue is $14,000 higher than budget. And we've had great sales in the gift shop, merchandise sales. So that's great. Giving total revenue at 97% of budget through October. To expenses, personnel and fringe are $129,000 under budget. $11,000 of this is seasonal salaries, which were a little bit under. We didn't hire as many. And benefits are $118,000 under. This we made up in November with a payment to the retirement system of $185,000. Travel and training, under budget. This is just due to timing of preserved travel and conferences. Contractual is 110% of budget. Due to the great weather, we got a lot of preserved contracts in and paid for. So that's great. Communications is slightly over. It's very close to budget. We had to replace the banner on Washington Avenue, so it's a little bit higher. Occupancy is $81,000 under budget. Utilities are $12,000 under, and this is a placeholder for repairs for the DC, and that is $66,000 under, but that will catch up also as we're doing repairs. Supplies and equipment are $16,000 under budget. Just supplies, timing again with the budget and purchases. Other expenses are $8,000 under due to dues and fees, and that will catch up throughout the year as well. Total expenses came in at 90% of budget. So overall, both revenue and expenses came in under budget, giving us an operating income of $193,000. If we look at the cash for capital, which is actually a balance sheet account, but I include this so you can see how we spent our cash. $32,000 gives us an operating cash flow of $161,000. So if we move on down, I put this underneath so you can see what our audited financials look like. Non-cash operating revenues, depreciation expense is $147,000 on budget. And we have a net loss on our investments of $253,000. Good news is in November we had $159,000 gain, so we caught up. That was quite a swing. And that's just due to market conditions. Change in that position, this is what our audit would look like if it was closed in October. It would be $206,000 deficit, and that's mainly due to the non-cash expense. And then the bottom figure here is what we report in Paris, because Paris doesn't include balance sheet accounts, which is cash for capital. So, any questions on that? Go. Balance sheet account, cash and cash equivalents. Cash is a little bit less. This is due to timing of DEC reimbursements in our account versus our expenses. And we did open a new account for the bank at Green County, and we swept $500,000 in there in the interest-bearing account. That's worked out well. Grants receivable, that decreased. Our increase $321,000. This has been paid. This is DEC. Money owed for September and October. Accounts receivable is at $114. Mitigation has been paid. Inventory, slight change to $396, and we did actual inventory in the Discovery Center. We shut down and actually performed physical inventory, and that's that change. Prepaid expenses are $0. You'll see this change throughout the years after this, due to expenses in 2024 that we have to record by March 31st that are not incurred in this fiscal year. Investments, $253,000 loss, all four funds. Again, in November, we had $159,000 gain. So good news. Capital assets, $115,000 difference, and this is the depreciation expense of $147,000, and conceptual design for the Discovery Center and fixed assets of $32,000. Land remained the same, and different outflows and net pension assets to our New York State retirement system. This will change in November, but this remains the same throughout. To liabilities, a slight change to 2,300. This is just accrued expenses through October. Deferred revenue, net pension liability, this remain the same again. This will change, this net pension liability will change in November, on the November cycle. Lease liability, this will change at the end of the year in March. Working with the auditors, this is our new GASB 87 requirement, and we will book that once a year, and get the lease liability out of there. We currently, at the end of the year, 3/31/24, we'll have 2 months left on our current lease. OPEB liability remain the same. We're running the report, and this will change in January. So we had a slight decrease of $13,000. Not much there. Investments in capital assets as above. This is depreciation expense and conceptual design. Fixed assets of $32,000. Reserved remain the same. Unreserved changed $91,000, giving us a total decrease in net assets of $206,000. It's reflected in our surplus of $193, our loss on investments of $253, and our depreciation of $147.
Lisa, at some point, it would be good, I think, to see a trend line looking backwards, so we can all appreciate the good situation we're in. Yeah, you know, we see this year to last year, but if we could see it this year over the past 10 years, I think it would just show all the good work that's been done. You know.
Investment summary for October. We have a loss of all 4 funds on through 49, and reserves 2,600. Discovery Center endowment, the endowment 58,000, and the OPEB reserves of 43,000. Again, we have a gain in November of 159,000 on that. It's just timing for the market fluctuation.
Hopefully, a gain in December.
Yeah. So, thank you.
Thanks, Lisa. I saw it. It's Pat Kern. Pat Kern, Mike McLaughlin is the representative of the county executive. So Mike's no longer going to be the rep for the county. He's moving into a different position. So Pat Kern, who's the policy analyst, will be taking over. So Pat was going to join us. And that was when he's saying, "I'll let you in." I should check. Thanks, Casey.
Yeah.
But I'm glad you reminded us. I wanted to mention that Pat will be joining us.
I didn't know what the comment from online.
That's what I was thinking too. Somebody asking about the balance sheet.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, if it's not that then, I think we can turn it to Aaron for an update on the grounds project.
Aaron, you want me to, since there's not much to do, do you want me to just do a quick, so you don't have to stand in the corner? Aaron and I just talked about this morning. So there's not much to report on. I have been going around and on my educational tour, trying to meet with a number of folks to market the project, the grounds project, using the renderings that we have from Bergman that you saw probably in June. So I have met with, or we had the commissioners from Parks and DEC and their staff here in October, gave them a presentation. I have been in met with members and their staff in the Assembly and the Senate, the County Executive's Office, Supervisor Barber, Supervisor Crummy, and our Common Council board member, Ty Clark, he was here, and I met with the mayor. So basically, making sure people understand the project, where we're going, and what the process is. And Aaron and I have been working with OGS Design and Construction. So the goal here is the challenge was because we weren't set up in the state financial system to be able to move money to OGS. We had to set up an escrow account. Of course, to do that, we set up an agreement. So we are now in the process of putting the language together for an agreement, working with OGS attorneys. So I hope I say that we have the agreement when we meet in March. But the plan is, let's get this agreement in place so we can start the design docs and construction docs for that trail. So Did I miss anything, Aaron?
No, that was great. Thanks, Chris.
Will the commission's outside counsel review that MOU or other agreement before it's signed?
Yes, absolutely. Yep.
All right, well, we're ahead of schedule, but let's just keep going. So we have a few action items in the board packet, 5 actually, and the first is the annual plan for 24-25.
Okay. I can say, so the first 3 of these action items here, the annual plan, the operating budget, the 5-year projection for Paris, and the transfer of funds from the down to the OPEB account. We discussed this at the audit committee meeting last Friday. So we got into some of the details. So I'll do a kind of a high level overview of this budget. I'm sorry, of the annual plan, then budget. I'll get ahead of ourselves. The annual plan, if you remember, the annual plan we put together, summary, this is the document that we use, that we provide to DEC for the grant that we get for our appropriation every year. So it doesn't change a lot. It's fairly generic, but it is accurate. Staff use it to some degree for objective setting, but there's more detail that go department by department, and then each staff member has their own objectives. But that said, the annual plan does change a little bit. So in your board packet, there's the red line, so you can see the track changes, what's new, what's been removed, and then there's a clean version. The only things that are probably worth noting are there's a couple of bullets in there for the grounds project, to launch the grounds project, to set up an agreement and work with OGS Design and Construction. We're working with a human resources firm called Integra HR to help us with some management coaching and helping us just general management stuff and training opportunities. They have a whole new training catalog that we're going to try and get into. So they started with us preliminarily in November, so we'll probably work with them through the next fiscal year. I think that's really it. Any questions on it?
Just out of curiosity, there's some strikeouts about out-of-life cameras for mammal activity and maintenance of trail systems. Is there any particular reason those were struck, or were they just relocated to different areas?
Mammals was struck.
Yeah.
Because the last site we were removing this winter, and the trail part got moved from where it was to the recreational section.
Thanks, Neil.
Okay. So we want to batch these 3 for a motion to approve?
Yeah, you want me to go through all 3?
Yeah. You had more to say on the other 2.
Yeah, let me go through the operating budget 5-year. Now let's pass each one. Okay, let's do that.
All right. I'll move to approve the proposed annual plan.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. Away from the screen. There. Okay, so this is the annual budget for fiscal year 24-25, starting April 1 of 24. You hear me say this in somewhat of a complaining tone every year. Because of the reporting that we're required to do through Public Authority Reporting Information System, Paris, we have to submit this budget by the end of December, but now we're also required to post the budget 30 days prior to the board taking action on it, so now it's posted in November. So we've worked with staff starting in early September on this. So we're not even 6 months into an operating year, so it's a challenge to put it together. But it's based on all the good numbers that we have so far.
Bless you.
Most importantly, bless you. It's based on an appropriation of $3 million, again, flat level from the Environmental Protection Fund, and I will start with that. So if you take a look at the budget overall, here's proposed, here's current. The income is the $3 million plus the balance of $1.363 million that's left over from this rollover. Remember, we still have this rollover. There's probably going to be more unspent funds when we finish out this fiscal year. We'll know by the end of March. We'll know even better when we have audited financials, and we'll see a new budget in June, most likely. There's nothing a whole lot new in income. We're keeping mitigation fees flat, $100,000 for the landfill moving forward. It ranges between $25,000 and maybe $28,000 a quarter as mitigation for the residents in project over there by Cross Gates. That stays flat. One thing to note is merchandise revenue. The gift shop, we talked about this in the audit committee. Gift shop has really been selling a lot of merchandise. So we raised that from 24,000 this year to 30,000, and that's still pretty conservative, I think. And we started doing room rentals again. John Lowe's, because John's in charge of room rentals. So we started doing that again. So we're proposing an income of about $3,600 upcoming fiscal year. So that's $9,600 additional income just from room rentals and gift shop. Actually, interestingly enough, we had Curia in here last week. Curia is the new name for Albany Molecular Research, AMRI. Remember that? They invented a molecular. They were the original inventors of Allegra, one of the first non-drowsy allergy drugs on the market. Lease revenue stays flat. We increased contributions, which is primarily the trust going down by 5,000 because that's increasing. That's income in a nutshell. I'll hit some of the expenses. So salaries and benefits, that includes a 3% increase across the board. That's based on the law that was adopted this year of 3% going forward for the next few years. That includes an increase of seasonal staff from $16 to $17 an hour, which is going to be a $3,500 a year increase, but trying to keep up with other organizations and what they're paying. Some folks are still paying close to minimum, but as you know, minimum wage goes to 15 January 1, December 31st upstate. So keeping ahead of that, and there's 40% built into that for benefits. That's the benefit rate. And the only other real notable thing is I want to talk about some contractual. This contractual line here could go up. The majority of that right now is Discovery Center, facility, and center, and habitat work. It's mostly habitat work. And we had this rollover of undesignated funds left over, if we want to use that term, but it has to be in the budget when we submit it to DEC. That will probably increase. We see that probably will. Nothing else significant, and when I say there probably will be more, let's take a look at these capital expenditures. So this is this fiscal year, 700 was approved for the grounds project. We're probably not going to spend that by this fiscal year. We're going to spend some of it, but whatever we don't spend, and I don't know what we're not going to spend, it's going into next year. But not knowing, I put in 700 for capital this year. So either way, we come out with a balanced budget. We look at cash of $1,550. Can I answer any questions on the budget? Jump into the 5-year too.
Chris, one thing about this building, just for the board's knowledge, we had a management team meeting for Delaware Engineering here.
Oh, yeah.
Chris was nice enough to come in and give us an overview of the Pine Bush and past, present, future. We looked at the vision plan for the enhancements for the capital project.
Right.
Really came across really well. We had it catered and had lunch brought in and whatnot, and it gave folks who don't have an opportunity to go visit this place, they come familiar with it. It gave them that opportunity. And my thought is that our agencies could do that, and our municipalities could do that. And we get more community leaders in here and strengthen that partnership. You know, that we have.
Yeah, I mean, we've had that happen in the past. Like, for example, Supervisor Barber, if you had your executive team, if you wanted to come here off-site, get them out of town hall, or away from town hall. Anybody who's not, so we don't charge. I mean, a rental is really, really inexpensive for this room. And then if you're a nonprofit, it's half. And if you're a commission member or a partner, Delaware, the town, Union, Parks, DEC, there is no charge.
We got meals for free for my store tour.
That's true. No, you're okay with that. You can always get staff for free or the room for free, but it's, I mean, the whole idea is it's not to make a significant source of income. It's just what you said. Get people here to see things else like the photo exhibit, to see exhibits outside, to go for a walk. So, thanks for coming. Any questions on the operating budget? Okay. So this is the 5-year, this is the projection, that we have to do for Paris. We submit this, when I say we, Lisa and I submit it. Lisa puts it together. I take no credit for it, I review it. And actually, we sit down, we go through it, and she puts it together. There's just some built-in assumptions here. It builds in the assumptions for the gift shop revenue going up. Just to give you an idea, so this column here at 23, these are audited financials. Those are audited financial numbers. This is what we're estimating this year's going to come in at, based on what numbers we have now. This is the budget we're going to adopt for 2025, starting April 1. 26, 27, and 28 are the projection. So we're making some assumptions here that revenue is going to stay the same for gift shop and for room rentals. We are making an assumption that the tenant we have currently is going to stay, or we will have a tenant no matter what that will pay the same square footage rate, which I think is fairly reasonable. And then we keep other assumptions in there too. The landfill stays flat. Trusco goes up a little bit, the Trusco endowment. But I do have here the landfill ending. I don't know when landfill is actually going to close because it keeps not. But I have that landfill mitigation going away in 28. EPF funding is flat across the board. We don't make any assumptions on that more than $3 million. Salaries and wages stay the same, like I mentioned in the operating budget above. 3% increases, 40% benefit rate, except for the last year, it's a 2% increase because that law expires. And the only other thing is under non-operating expenses, we do not include the OPEB liability because this year and last year, because of the discount rate, there's actually a positive instead of a huge liability. If you remember that. I don't know what will happen next year. I don't think that's going to happen next year. Let's see what the Fed does, right? So we don't build that in because we don't know what it is. So what all you're seeing for non-operating expenses primarily for here, and here are depreciation. Lisa, did I miss anything in this highlights? Those are the primary assumptions that we made. Steve?
What's the state subsidy? Can you just remind me why that's so, so much above the $3 million state line?
Oh, here. Oh, because of the rollover, Steve. Because of so we have the rollover. We didn't have it here. We didn't spend it in here, but we have it in this current year. Then we're making the assumption that's that 1.363 that continues to roll. And then we make the assumption that it's gone, but it probably will roll.
What was the origin of that?
We had 1.849 of encumbered funds that were unencumbered that DEC notified us. So the 5.5 originally is the $3 million. We had 475,000 roll over from 21-22. We received 1.849 from DEC, and then we had a rollover of from 22-23 of 230. So that gave us the 5.55. And then for 24-25, we have $3 million plus the rollover contractual line of 1.363. And then assuming we use all that, but if we don't, you'll see that number in the next 5 years. That rollover will increase that $3 million. And the $3 million is just what we receive every year, not what we're going to assume.
Right. Thanks. Steve, that money that was encumbered became unencumbered is because the legislature finalized a budget on an appropriation of X, and there wasn't enough cash to give us all that. Remember, we weren't getting our full appropriations for a number of years. So then all of a sudden they said, "Oh, the cash is here." So they said you have 1.8 that is now unencumbered. Any other? It's better than taking it back. So, are there other questions on that 5-year projection or the overall budget? Thank you to the whole staff and Lisa for rolling it up too. Okay.
We have a motion to approve these two budgets.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Let's take a look at resolution here is, the audit committee discusses this every year, and that brings a proposal to the full committee or to the full board to transfer either 3%, 4%, or 5% of the 3-year average balance of the endowment, to continue to fund the OPEB, which is other post-employment benefits, the OPEB account. And Lisa puts the 3-year average together, the total of 11.8. The actual average is 3.9. This is 5%, 4, and 3. And the committee, John, do you want me to say what the committee?
It's the committee's recommendation that while our finances are in good shape, that we do the prudent thing and push 5% over. And it was a unanimous recommendation.
And that was last year was the same. It was 5%. Last year was about 192,000.
Yeah. So there is a significant difference between 3 and 5. It's about $80,000.
That's right.
But our finances are good, and not knowing what the future holds, it seems like a good idea to make hay while the sun shines.
Yep. Okay. Any questions?
If not, we have a motion to approve this resolution.
So moved. I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right,
Thank you.
okay. Page 2, policies and procedures manual.
So the policies and procedures manual, so you, the board was provided this at the board meeting in September. It was a real significant overhaul. We worked with Von Schoening and King, the labor and HR attorney that was assigned to us to work on the project. There were lots of changes, and we had conversations with staff, and the attorney that worked with us actually came and met with our directors team to answer some of those questions. And so basically what I did is I took those questions and adapted it into the document itself to make it more clear, because some things weren't exactly clear. None of which is really substantive, but one thing that I felt that was substantive is we removed a section that's called a prescribed fire policy. It's not necessarily a policy, it's more about personnel and the need for personnel to be on site for burning. Heinrich Commission personnel is obsolete, and it's been obsolete for probably 10, because we have so many agency partners that want to participate on these burns for their own experience. There's days where Tyler will have 25 people when you need 10 sometimes on a burn. So it's obsolete, and I thought that was substantive enough to bring back. And in that packet, based on Nancy's question last meeting, there's a red line version so you can see those changes. There's a green version. Okay.
And the red lines compare against the current manual or the version that was presented in September?
September. Okay. So the only changes that you see that are redlined are those that you approved in that whole document.
All right. I will move to approve.
I'll second.
All right.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Last but not least.
Okay. So a little background on this. Action item E, let's take a look at the map. Let's look at this map for context. This is Crossgates Mall. This is the current Blue Hill, as it's called. Power line. Actually, is the connection here to the power line. This is Blueberry Hill. This is the Daughters of Sarah Nursing Home. This is Dreesen House Nursing Home. This is Avila Retirement Living Community. Crossgates Commons, Walmart, Home Depot, the interchange with the Northway and Thruway, and I-90 East. So this property, and this is the Rapp Road community, the historic Rapp Road community. There is open space here that's been recommended for full protection for a number of years. It's owned by Pyramid Crossgates. Pyramid Crossgates got approval, final approval in August of 22, I believe, to develop what's called Apex Crossgates. It's a 222 unit apartment and townhome project. This area was recommended for partial protection in our management plan. This area is recommended for full protection. And of course, you can see the connection here. Cross gates, based on our recommendation and that of the planning board, and their final decision was to donate this as mitigation for the project. I'm still working with Cross Gates, their representative and their attorneys on trying to finalize it. If you look at this red line, there were some trespass issues around these tax parcels into that red line and along here too. So I said, instead of trying to deal with the trespass issues like a driveway into this Peregrine living, you just do a lot line adjustment. Like, it's no value to us ecologically, like, we don't need to deal with it. It's a perfect area for continued trespass, even if it's cleaned up. And then there's other things with Time Warner where there's trespass. So it shrunk it from 8.4 acres to 6.9, which is negligible. This is all good quality restorable habitat. So once they finish the lot line adjustment, they are going to consolidate it as these three parcels, 1, 2, and 3 into one, which will be 66 Rapp Road. But I wanted to have the board approve this. This has been in the making for over 2 years. I wanted to have the board approve this, so when we're able, I could work with our attorneys and we can close it. Not have to wait for another board.
What's the little piece of property?
This one?
Yes.
This is an in-holding. This was donated to the Rapp Road Historic Association, and that has a driveway across this property, so we'll have to deal with them and have to give them an access easement if they will use it. It's jewel there. This is completely dilapidated, isn't it? Is that
Yeah.
the one?
Yeah, it's a haunted house.
Yeah. So I don't know what they're going to do with it. Part of the mitigation package that was put together for Cross Gates doing this project over here, Apex Cross Gates, they also the mitigation also included donation to the Rapp Road Historical Association. This property and a couple of others up here. I think it was this one and this one. And I worked with the Rapp Road Historical Association. I got maps together for them so they could understand what the process was. Give those to transfer. Sure.
Do you anticipate that small property will, at some point or another, come over the final motion?
This one? No, I don't know. I mean, it would, maybe some of it would. I mean, it fits within, part of their mission is to protect the historic properties, right? So, but we have a good partnership with the community, with the association, I should say.
You were talking about the trespass to the north there.
Yeah, this thing.
But you don't have an outline, it's just cut that whole sort of chunk.
Yeah, so Casey, you see this? This is one tax parcel here.
Yeah.
Looks like a big, right?
Okay, so it goes
flag.
up that way.
So it goes all the way up to here, and it goes across this piece of property too. So this senior living facility has a driveway that comes in here with dumpsters back there.
Yeah.
It's blacktop.
Yeah.
And then they have, so we did a lot line here. This little area, there's a trail, there's a paved footpath for the residents that live there. So instead of asking them to rip up the paved footpaths for residents, let's just move it. And then Time Warner has poles, electrified poles, utility poles that they use for training. And instead of ripping out electrical infrastructure, there's no value. So we've been trying to buy this property for years.
I'm fully supportive of it. I was just curious, and obviously it's really tight, you guys deal with a lot of tight locations. What's the management sort of implications of this site, like in terms of like its benefit and how you could actually physically manage it?
It certainly can be managed mechanically, and I guess I would go out on a limb and I'd look at the science and fire staff and say, if we can burn across the road, which is on the edge of the thruway, Old State Road and 155, we can probably burn this.
Casey, we're currently working with DEC wildlife folks for managing the whole corridor immediately south of this that Cross Gates owns and includes the power line. Ideally, we would wrap that all together. So it'll be mechanically pre-treated It's a beautiful dune with high quality barrens on it, suitable for Carter blues and elfins. It's already got hognose snakes and all. So we envision being able to manage it with fire just like we would the rest of the preserve, albeit in much smaller pieces.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so Casey, this piece here, this is owned by Cross Gates, and there's a management agreement that DEC has on it. But then you can see the power line too.
And the TNC piece, Chris, on the west side of Raft Road, will be wrapped up into that and all treated as one.
Yep. And this is part of it too.
Yep. It's worth noting we don't have that protection anymore across the Daughters of Sarah property. We should update that map. Yeah, TNC has their conservation easement, that long narrow piece.
Yep.
But Daughters has never updated the management agreement.
The management agreement wasn't the management agreement with TNC.
Right, both are with TNC. The management agreement was annually renewable, and they've never updated it in over, what, 15 years now?
Yeah, at least. And I would like, unlikely to do so, without a change in leadership there. Other questions on that property?
All right, then can we have a motion to approve, to authorize Chris to work with legal counsel to accept the donation pursuant to the real property acquisition policy?
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay.
That brings us to a presentation.
Where'd Beth go?
Get out of your way.
Go.
She's not here.
Hang on. That we're early.
I'm so sorry. Apologize.
You don't have to.
Could have gone sooner. All right. Good morning, everyone.
Let me stop here.
And that's in here.
Oh, that's right, because you gotta use your computer.
Well, that and just. All right. Share. Sorry, everyone. Just a second. We're beginning. Does it show the whole thing? No, it's still showing.
There you go.
There you go.
Going? Okay.
There's a lag.
All right. So this will be a little bit clumsy because I'm going to try and stick to this corner, but when you present in Zoom from PowerPoint, I don't know if anyone has experienced the joy of losing your notes. So I have my PowerPoint presentation on my iPad to kind of keep up. So good morning again. My name is Beth McCallum. I am the Outreach and Volunteer Coordinator here at the Pine Bush. And this presentation is adapted from a presentation I did on December 5th for the Sandplain Grasslands Conference, Network Conference, and a couple of us from the Preserve presented at that conference. Amanda Dillon presented about bees within the preserve, and it was just an open call to talk about all different aspects of what we professionals do to contribute to the management and the mission of the preserve. So I submitted a proposal to talk about how engaging volunteers can support your mission's your organization's mission. And so specifically, I went on to talk about, because not many of the people knew who the Pine Bush was, and everybody in this room knows who the Pine Bush is, so I don't have to go into, it's not advanced, why is that? It's not
There may
that
just be a
long.
lag. There may be a lag, but.
That's frustrating. So, share it.
Technology is great.
It's the best.
Hybrid meetings.
Okay, so try this one more time. There's some light. Okay, so, our mission is to protect and manage the unique and endangered natural communities and species of the Albany pine bush for ecological benefits and controlled and appropriate public, recreational, and educational use. So in this presentation, I'm hoping to draw a parallel between how our volunteers can support the mission of the pine bush, either recreationally, educationally, or for ecological benefits. And we have a host of volunteer programs, over 260 volunteers that we manage here at the preserve across 10 different programs. And so this wasn't to specifically show how to start a program or how to create the volunteer engagement cycle within your organization. This was just kind of an overview of these are the opportunities that we have at the preserve that align with our mission. Apologize, this is a bit clumsy. So, a lot of the infrastructure for volunteer programs, I've been in my position 21 months, and many of these volunteer programs that I'm going to talk about have existed in the preserve in several iterations for years, but some of them have been created as needs have arisen within the preserve. Volunteering is twofold. It gives our constituents, folks living in our 3 municipalities, in the 10-mile radius, the opportunity to serve within the Pine Bush Preserve and personally connect with staff and the ecosystem, but also gives them that sense of community and also serve in a way they're interested in because we have such a huge variety of volunteer opportunities. Their service also fulfills an important role in our mission as it assists preserve staff by providing some kind of assistance that we need, whether it is we have constraints in staffing or constraints in other resources. Volunteer service fills in those constraints that we might have. So this is just an overview of the 10 different programs we offer to 260 volunteers. Again, I said it's not, if you want to know how to start a volunteer program, that's a whole nother set, and I am currently working on a steering committee called RVAN, so Rensselaer Volunteer Administrators Network, and it was set up with a grant from Rensselaer County for volunteers, administrators, and nonprofits, particularly to network and get together to talk about what are you doing for recruiting, what are you doing for retention, that whole volunteer engagement cycle, and for those administrators specifically, so giving resources to volunteer administrators. And I was meeting with folks from Grafton Lake State Park, also when Jackie offered our CPR training to Columbia County Conservancy. They had a brand new outreach and engagement individual who was like, what are you doing to bring people in and how are you organizing your volunteer programs? So there is a real need from volunteer administrators. And so I'm trying to bring along more people from the parks, arts, and culture through Discover Albany to join this association so that they can also benefit from this network of volunteer administrators. So let's go on to our first volunteer opportunity. So our first volunteer opportunity, and it'll come up in a second, is our community outreach volunteers. And these are volunteers specifically who serve twofold in the community. So we do public outreach in that we go out when Gilderland holds their National Night Out. We are invited to come and table and talk to people about what we do here at the preserve. We were at Miss Yuna's Arbor Day and Town Colony Arbor Day. We go out and just meet people where they are and talk about the wonderful things that we do in the preserve. So there's a community outreach out in our constituency, but we do a lot of community outreach here in the preserve through our special events. And we have increased our special events in 2023 from 5 events in a year to 9. And so we now host new special events like Barron's Birding Blitz, which took place during migratory bird season and invited, it was our first ever, semi-professional birding competition here within the preserve. We also host Smoky Bear Day and Night at the Discovery Center, and of course, our signature Lupin Fest. And these are all programs that we use to outreach and engage with our constituency, and volunteer service during those events is essential to pull off staffing and logistics of those events. So a community outreach volunteer, they work specifically outside in the community and also within the preserve to help engage individuals. I always love an acronym, so our community outreach volunteers are COVs. Like every single volunteer opportunity, I'm like, well, let's make it into an acronym so everybody's confused. All right, so we have our bird banding volunteers. And so I know that we spoke a little bit about our bird banding program here at the preserve. And it is similar to our fire volunteers. It is a collaboration with a lot of our community partners and our partner agencies, but we do have people who contribute that are just bird lovers and they want to learn more and to participate. So there's an annual training and certification that happens. And it also supports our mission to educate and also towards to our habitat and protection, because a lot of the data that we gather through those bird banding stations help inform management practices in the future. So this is important work that our staff, we have 4 seasonals and we have 3 full-time conservation staff. So without our community partners and this core of volunteers, sometimes we would be short-staffed at our banding station. And so this directly is an opportunity for people to, and it's not showing up, I apologize for that.
It is. Whoever's watching it remotely, it's advancing. The smartphone
Just
is not
advancing here. So bird banding is one of the ways that.
Hey, Beth, did Chris volunteer to be Smokey in there?
That is not Chris. That is probably Todd or.
Never met him.
There are, this year though, when the ranger came, he did bring 2 different Smokey costumes and they switched it up. And I was like, the costume has changed. Why does Smokey look different? And because he comes out 4 different times. And it was very confusing as to why does Smokey change so much? I didn't even know the ranger brought 2 costumes. So we have size options when it comes to staffing Smokey. So it's a little bit more about our bird banding program. It just showed up. These are some of our amazing bird banding volunteers. On the right, that is Jane Tatlock, and she's been with us for years. And she does a lot of our data entry, and this is her on our owl banding program. All right, so then on kind of keeping in the vein with our conservation department, we have community science within the preserve. And this is where the majority of that 260 volunteers comes from, because this is a very kind of it's always good to offer a variety of volunteer opportunities, because not everybody has the luxury of being able to come at 2 o'clock on a Tuesday. So a lot of drop-in opportunities are great opportunities for volunteers, and our community science program is one of those opportunities. Volunteers register through the website. They attend a virtual training with our ecologist and entomologist, Dylan. So usually on a Wednesday night, we'll hold the training, and it goes over anything that the data collection process, anything that they're going to be required to do. Also preserve background and also the species, because we choose to like the woodcock and the whippoorwill surveying. So they get a kind of background of that, and then they are assigned a portion in the preserve where they go out and survey, and they can survey. Some surveys are required to be completed 5 times, sometimes 3 times, and it's usually in a window of time. So they can go out and enjoy the preserve in that window of time when it works for them. So it's a very flexible opportunity, and a lot of people take advantage of that. Especially when I go to, community, volunteer fairs at Jimmy Albany, a lot of the students love this because it's something they can attend virtually first, but then get to actually go out and do hands-on field work in the preserve. Some of the opportunities we provide throughout the calendar year, and it is pretty well-rounded throughout the year. We've already done our 2024 planning. We do frog watch, IMAP invasives, we do whippoorwill surveying, woodcock survey, national butterfly count, and we also do snowpack monitoring throughout the preserve, and that's something people can just stick their gauge in the backyard and give us readings from all over the community within the preserve. So community science, again, that is supporting our mission in that it is helping that data collection, it's helping inform management and preservation practices, and it's also giving hands-on opportunities for our volunteers. All right, and then we are so lucky here to have this beautiful nature center. The Discovery Center is the gateway to the preserve. And again, a lot of organizations face constraints as far as staffing. We do keep our doors open 7 days a week. So we have volunteer docents to kind of help support and scaffold the volunteer experience for visitor services. So our volunteer docent program, which you will see shortly, some of our amazing docents, they kind of come in there. The first person you see, we have our beautiful docent station out there that's only about 6 or 7 months old. And they will be the first people greeting you when they come in the door. And they assist in data collection because they are counting how many people come through the door. They're recording where they're coming from. And they also have been trained in basic natural history and we are 2 behind. Awesome.
That's all right. It's the anticipation bill.
Right? Everybody's just hoping what time's going to be next. So they have been trained in interpretation and natural history so that they can orient guests within the Discovery Center, but also, hey, here's a trail map. These are the trails that are directly behind the preserve. Greet people, welcome them, and also that we collect all that data that goes into the iPad and keep track of Discovery Center attendance. And they are usually the first face you see, and they also participate, like we have so many school programs and public programs here at Preserve, which we're going to talk about education volunteers in just a minute, but they, a lot of times our docents will help with preparation for crafts or materials that will be used in programs, and so their service is really beneficial for our visitor services staff. Okay, the next one, we're going to talk about our volunteer fire crew, which I know that Chris talked about how in the policies were, what was the document you were updating? Policies and procedures to talk about how many people need to be, how many staff need to be on the fire crew, because we have people who are, that word goes out that we need a call for volunteer fire crew, and people snap up those opportunities. And they are, a lot of these volunteers are community partners, so coming from Forest Service, coming from DEC, coming from local fire crews, but we do have individuals who've been with us for years and who just wanted to learn how to become wildland firefighters just so that they could help on the fire crew within their own communities, and that's really a very cool thing to see. And our fire volunteers are just some of our best. They also participate in community outreach when they're participating at Smoky Bear Day or they're participating at night at the Discovery Center. So we have amazing fire volunteers. So moving away from the just such a letdown. All right, so can everybody see my tiny screen? So another volunteer opportunity we have that assists with our conservation and stewardship department. Jesse is our preserve botanist, and he leads a training every spring for certified seed collectors. And this is a very cool program that teaches, we have about 30 individuals sign up, and we have a waiting list for it, who will come, and it's a 6-hour training class where there's 4 hours in the classroom and 2 hours out in the field. And Jesse trains people on how to identify different wildflowers. And he has this thick book that is updated of where all these species are within the preserve, so that people know. And then he will send out a call once the training is over. Hey, the lupin is ready to harvest. Or I'm trying to think of all the species, and they're going to evade me now. But essentially sends out a call to this group of individuals, and they go out, they gather seed, and that seed then that they have harvested is dried, and it is sown into plots that have been flagged for preservation. And so that native seed is being sown in other parcels within the preserve, and that is all due to the service of these individuals. 2 of them oversaw our Conservation Day volunteers from Regeneron, and they were able to pick 48 pounds of, oh my gosh, what's the one that sticks to you? So Hickory trefoil. When they came for a day. So I mean, I think they just went out and rolled in it, and then just like threw their clothes in a bucket. But those certified seed collectors are really instrumental in helping in that aspect of our mission. Okay, 3 more volunteer opportunities. I'm not kidding you. We have a host of opportunities here for people. Like if you're looking for something, you will find it here at the preserve. So the next one is our education volunteers, and we have 3 specifically under this banner. So we have volunteer educators and program assistants and volunteer naturalists. Our education department is 3 full-time individuals plus 1 seasonal and 2 seasonals, right? And interns, but it is not enough for the very robust program schedule that they present, both public and school programs that we have coming through the preserve. And so we rely on volunteer educators. They specifically teach a portion of a program. They independently lead, not being presented by staff, independently lead these programs. And then our program assistants, exactly what it sounds like. They might be the sweep on a hike on a public program, or they might assist in distributing tools or crafts at a public or school program. So we have those 2 opportunities, and then we have our volunteer naturalists, which is one of our most engaged groups of volunteers here at the preserve. And they go out on the trails. They're trained in interpretation, and they go out on the trails, and they are kind of staffed eyes and ears, because we can't be out there all the time. It's a group of 34 individuals who are logging like 104 reports a month, trail reports a month, sometimes plus.
Not that many.
They
at least have
that's interactions,
one a
I
day.
think.
Yeah, interactions with people. They
It's in the
interact
hundreds.
with in the hundreds, and they just like say hello to like
Tons of people.
300 sometimes.
Tammy is our supervisor for the volunteer naturalist program. So they're out there educating. They're out there also observing if there's erosion in a path, or there's a branch down, or there is someone walking their dog off leash and just leaving the feces on the trail and reporting that to us to let us know that that is a problem. So these are 3 great ways that people can volunteer and support our mission. We are almost done. Our group conservation days, these are often opportunities for like a one-off opportunity, similar to the community gardening or to the community science, where people oftentimes like Regeneron or a corporation will approach us and say, hey, we've got a volunteer service day. Is there something that we can do for you in the preserve? I've got a group of 40 people. And so these individuals will often help on the very aggressive and exciting end of putting up split rail fencing. We have individuals who have helped with that. To trash cleanup, they also do seed collection, and they also do invasive species removal. So this is kind of a one-day opportunity, and we liaise with the stewardship department to identify the areas in the preserve that could use any of those services. and board. And so the Friends of the Pine Bush community it's our 501c nonprofit that kind of is scaffolding around the preserve. We rely on them for help with funding for, they sponsor things like the Pine Bush Perspectives, and also like, what was the other big one that I thought of? Oh, our science lecture series, they help sponsor. And so things, anything additional that we might want to produce or need, our friends, based on their generous donations, are able to support that work in the preserve. And so we have individuals who are serving on that executive board and also on fundraising and social committees. And they not only do great fundraising work, but they also, for their cohort, they organize meetups and cleanups and all kinds of social activities for their organization. And we work very closely with them. So all of these volunteer opportunities is just a way for us as a staff to supplement the wonderful work that we do here at the preserve with volunteer service and kind of meet those mission goals and the needs that we have that we are not always able to meet as a staff. And they are some of the best people and the most treasured interactions that I have on a daily basis are with those volunteers, and they are very engaged and very passionate about the work that they get to do on behalf of the preserve. So it's a great opportunity to work with them. Are there any questions? Who wants to volunteer now? Like we're sitting here, we already are. We're doing our part.
You know, Beth, with our steady funding through the EPF, it'd be easy for this place to be an island.
Yeah.
And community outreach is key to the long-term viability of this place, so bravo.
Thank you. Yeah, that is our goal as a communications staff. I mean, as a commission-wide staff, but it is integral to build those one-on-one connections between the environment and the ecosystem of the preserve, but also with staff, because the staff here are the heart of what makes everything happen. And so people love that connection, not just to the place, but to the people doing the work to continue improving that place. So thank you for recognizing that.
Thank you, Beth, for your perseverance of dealing with wonky technology.
Oh, we were still just on pictures are great pictures. I apologize.
I don't get it because it's coming right through
Online guys.
online. That's right. We covered Sparkboard in the budget we just passed.
All right. Thank you so much for your time.
All right, other business or new business? I'll just mention Casey and Don Cephas, three of us comprise the governance committee for the board. So it's been some time since the committee met, so I'm going to be reaching out to both of you to set something up for sometime in the first quarter of next year. Likely February.
And one thing I'll point out is that the next meeting is March 28th. Typically, meetings are every quarter. It's the third Thursday. This is actually the fourth Thursday. Just so you know, that actually so the audit committee is the Friday before that too. So that's a week later too, which would be the 22nd. Right, Friday the 22nd is the audit committee. Thursday the 28th of March is the board.
Well, if there's any other new or other business? Oh.
Yeah, hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Patrick Curran. I think Chris mentioned earlier, but I just wanted to introduce myself. I'll be stepping into Mike McLaughlin's role, who is taking over as Deputy County Executive. So I just wanted to introduce myself and say I'm looking forward to working with everyone.
Hey, thanks, Pat. You and I will meet early in January. We'll catch up.
Yep, absolutely. Sounds good.
Great. Thank you. There's Don.
I was just gonna say, can we say hi to Don, who is our outgoing friend, president of our Friends of the Albany Pine Bush community, and thank him for his amazing service over the last 2 years.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
I can give a brief update on the Friends.
Great.
So the Friends have paid 2/3 of the cost of the short film in 2023, and we're planning to pay off the last third in the first quarter of 2024. These funds have been raised over the past year through a combination of appeal letters to friends, grants, and donations made in the name of deceased loved ones. We have a 2023 recap of Friends social activities put together by our social committee chair, Sonia Willett. So over the 2023, we had 17 hikes. Again, Beth had mentioned that we work with Meetup, and that's really turned out to be a fantastic tool to bring people together. That included one joint hike with the Woodlawns Preserve Friends. We averaged 14 hikers per hike. The high was 30 hikers and the low was 6. We have a book club. There were 4 Zoom book club meetings, and we plan the same for 2024. The high attendance was 16 in February with the book Braiding Sweetgrass, and the low attendance was for the Wilding in November. The Friends participated in 2 roadside cleanups in March with 18 people and in November with 15 people. We had 1 glass cleanup on the Kings Highway Barrens, included 6 people. We also participated with 1 evening at the Regional Food Bank in August. Special events included a happy hour at Swifties in Delmar in July, and a 20-mile challenge recognition event in August. And we volunteered for the Earth Day cleanup, the Barrens Birding Blitz, and the Perspectives show in December. Friends sponsored 7 science lectures this year. Sorry. And in all, we now have 191 hikers that have completed our 20-mile challenge. And as of December 5th, our meetup group had reached a total of 1,600 people. The traveling perspectives exhibit, we exhibited at the Daughters of Sarah Massery residence, the Town of Colony Town Library, and the Glen Eddy Senior Center in Niskayuna, with Guilderland Library scheduled for January. Finally, I'd just like to let you know that we elected a new slate of officers at our December 5th meeting. So starting January 1st, Jeff Corbin will be our president. Penny Valvura will remain as vice president. Bob Kesey shall be treasurer, and Allison Baxter will be our secretary. So that's all I have for the Friends.
Great, thank you, Don.
Thank you.
One quick follow-up. So the opening for the Pine Bush Perspectives, the opening event is the first Friday of December, and a big crowd is around 70. We had over 120 this time. I think we had so many more submissions, so people want to see their their photos, but it's good. It's nice. Okay.
All right. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Nancy's got it.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Great holiday season.
Yeah.
Happy New Year.